What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show bringing you all the action from the Premier League in Serie A, England, and Italy.
Sorry, you were like cutting in and out. I don't know what's going on with my internet right now, but I'm assuming, the intro is the same. So, hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm doing great. How are you today on this Wednesday evening?
Just another day. Just another day working for the man, taking names, cashing checks, snapping necks, all the in between.
Nice. Sounds like you attacked your day.
No, because I'm not one of those like alpha male podcast bros talking about attacking my day, or like one of those guys that's convinced himself because he's like, I've actually had 3 days within my day, from 6 to 12, and then from 12 to 6. And then 6 to 12 again. So, yeah, man, buddy, you just figured out how to break up your day. That's awesome, man. That's like kindergarten shit right there, to be honest.
You're red-pilled. Dude, yeah, I don't know what's going on with my internet. I'm sorry.
Well, it froze on a very funny face. We will power through. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out the best we can. I mean, you might want to freeze for this first part of the conversation.
I don't want to do this.
I think you're just like, you got your thumb on the router over there. Like, oh, I think I'm going through a tunnel. I
pulled out the lag switch for this one right now, man. What? I can't hear you, dude.
Dude's got wall hacks. All right, Dom, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about Inter 5-1 win against Milan over the weekend. Pretty one-sided Milan derby. Really, I would say until the last 30 minutes, it was a very competitive game. Rafael draws Milan back within one. It's 2-1. Feels like the game is sort of in the balance still, and Inter end up just kind of running route in the last 20, 30 minutes. Embarrassing defeat, and like we said in the preview, Inter have really dominated in this fixture over the last few seasons. They've, largely speaking, this is 5 wins out of the last 6, or 6 wins out of the last 7 now. And that's obviously a big advantage in their part. And for Milan, frustrating result. I think when you consider the way that they've started the season, again, even though I think the scoreline is a little flattering to Inter in some ways, Inter were the better team in this game and were deserving of the win. I don't know that the golfing class was necessarily 5-1, but still a frustrating result.
Well, I do think that there were some questions raised with the lineup that Pioli brought out for Milan. But no Tomori for this because of the double yellow that he got the match week prior. And you could see that was a huge loss for Milan coming into that game. I mean, when they came out and Mkhitaryan scores that first goal, you could tell they came out flat. They looked bad. Leao was obviously frustrated throughout most of the game. The weather was not good either. And I mean, Inter always seemed to kick it up a notch when they play Milan. So it is.
You guys are kind of down bad to start blaming the rain because the performance is down bad over there, brother.
I was in a terrible mood watching that game. When Leao brought it back, when it was 2-1, I was like, nice, we got this. And then the second goal or the third goal happens, and then Mkhitaryan scores his second of the match, and I turned the TV off. I didn't watch the rest of the game. I just had it. I was done. This is the first time Milan has let Inter score 5 goals on them since in the 70s. So it's been like 50 years.
They let them score the goals on them.
That's really good. No. Sorry. Excuse me. This is the first time that Inter has scored 5 on Milan since the 70s. So it's been a very long time since this happened. The fans are up in arms, calling for the firing of Pioli. Twitter has been ablaze, and even a strong Champions League showing yesterday is still yet to calm those fires that have been, popping up all over the Milan fan base. But I think that Milan will rebound from this. There obviously needs to be, a rework of the tactical approach. I don't know. I think that certain players for them need to be utilized more than other players. At least, it's nice to see that Pioli is giving a guy like Yunus Musa a chance, given, how he doesn't like to get young players in very quickly when they get to the team. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's, one you take to the chin and just move on.
Yeah. I think the takeaway from this game is maybe it's time to respect Simone Inzaghi a little bit more. This is a guy that I think has done quite a bit with like a talented team, obviously, right? But, gets them to a Champions League final last year, wins Coppa Italia, wins Supercoppa. Like, I think he's a very good manager. They started out the season in electric form, top of the table in Serie. You get a big win over your rivals, of course, and he's done that a lot over the past few seasons, like we've talked about, between Inter and Milan. I think he's not a guy that gets enough respect. I mean, this was a guy, too, that even last year it seemed like might have walked away from Inter. There was like a potential for sort of a mutual, agreement to just part ways. I think he's a fantastic manager. I think he's one of the top managers in Italy. I don't know that I'm really saying anything brave or bold by putting it out there, but I don't think he gets included enough in that discussion. And that speaks as well to Inter's sort of depth pieces that they have. Marcus Thuram comes on, and I think this could be the Marcus Thuram derby too, right? Because both teams chasing him over the summer, and he scores one of the most, at least that I can remember, one of the best goals in a game like this too. Like, just unbelievable strike. So much so that I had to text you and antagonize you a little bit on that one.
Yeah, thanks about that.
Well, come on. I mean, what do you want from me? You want me to not react to a goal like that? I mean,
there's not much you can do about that one either. You know what I mean? Like, that's when you scored that, I go, well, what can you do there? That was just very good. He played a very good game for them. I think that's, and especially in a matchup like that, that's how you cement, your spot in the fan base's hearts. They obviously are going to expect a lot out of him. So, the first time he has a stinker, they'll probably turn on him. But I think that it bodes well for his start to his career with that team. He fits right in, and he's got a place in the history books in such a historic, matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Elsewhere, we had another big win in Italy. This team's first win of the season, Roma. They saved it all that bad XG from last season where they really underperformed. They got it all out of their system in this game. Roma 7-0 victors over Empoli. One man named Romelu Lukaku getting on the score sheet. I just think it's hilarious. Obviously there had been some, I think more on the media side than anything else, but a lot of discussion about Mourinho and his future with the club, and they've started out so poorly, and just the most non-Mourinho result too, a 7-0 drubbing, just not something that you ever really see from a Mourinho team typically. And I thought just a really funny way for them to turn it around is just absolutely lay it all on poor Empoli, who've just
congrats. You killed the relegation side, a side that started Matteo Destro at striker.
Okay, come on. Well, for 10 years ago, if we're being honest, I think there's some Destro tweets in your history, pal.
Very, very different time frame. Listen, look at the team he was on. Come on now. And that was after he, was coming off some hot seasons at Roma. So, he was the next best thing in Italy. So, you kind of know how that game's going to go when it starts off with that penalty. And, then there's this, would you consider it a Cristante goal, or is that an own goal? I think it was. I don't even think I touched Cristante. I think that was a deflection off the other Empoli player, and it goes in the back of the net.
I
But like,
believe that was an own goal, is how it was
yeah.
credited. Yeah.
So like, look at how that goes. Renato Sanchez scores off a header off a give and go, which is for me it's nice to see because I like seeing. I have like a affinity for Renato Sanchez for some reason.
Because you wanted him at Milan for the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's I wonder why I have such an affinity for him, but they came out. They played well. I mean, this is what Roma wanted, right? This is why they went out and they bought those midfielders. This is why they went out and got Lukaku. Like they finally have like their like number one squad out there, and they showed that they can handle it against the lower end. 7-0 is obviously an outlier when it comes to score lines, but it bodes well for them moving forward this season with handling the mid-table teams and lower table teams, and it shows that they probably have the quality to play in these bigger games against the top 7.
Yeah, I think the Roma team is not how they performed the first few weeks of the season is not how I really expected them to be. And yeah, you're right. They're obviously not going to be the offensive output from this game is not going to be replicated in a lot of other games. This is probably going to be their best, offensive game. It would be for a lot of teams. If they ever. But yeah, just wanted to give Roma a little shout out for getting back on track in a pretty spectacular way. Elsewhere in Italy, Juventus in the Maurizio Sarri derby gets a 3-1 win against Lazio. Vlahovic, by the way, nice double from him. He's a guy that's had a lot of criticism. I think sometimes he gets hated on for, I think a little unfairly sometimes. Like, is he a perfect striker? No, but I think he's a good goal scorer. And I think he gets like a weird amount of criticism. I guess when you move to Juventus, that's going to attract a lot of hate, and people are going to be kind of like preying on your downfall a little bit. But I think he gets a lot of hate for no particular reason. He seems like a pretty normal dude too. Like, he doesn't seem like someone that has like a massive ego necessarily. He works hard. Like, it's not like he's one of these lazy guys. I don't know.
When you talk about the Juventus ultras and a non-Italian that seems to struggle at the club, I think it's a very easy target for the fans to go after.
I'm not even saying Juventus fans. I'm saying like just I'm saying like Italy fans in general seem to just and you leave Fiorentina, go there. I think naturally people are gonna give you a little bit for that, but I don't know. I've always kind of liked Vlahovic. Obviously, I like Fiorentina in Italy, so it hurts to see him go to Juventus clearly, but still a guy that I think has some natural talent. So a good bounce back and I mean, don't look now, but Juventus near the top of the table, despite losing Paul Pogba for 20 years to federal maximum prison. But it's for all of that, Juventus have had kind of a quietly good season. Have only conceded 2 goals in the league so far. Back to the Allegri, just I don't know, prison ball. Back to the Allegri, just put him in a coffin, terrorist type of.
Put him in a coffin.
Yeah, only Inter have a better defensive record, conceding 1 goal so far this season, of course, to Rafa Leao in that Milan derby. They lose to Fiorentina 3-2. Atalanta 2 wins, 2 losses on the year. Kind of expected this for Atalanta coming into the year. They lost some talent. It always felt like it was going to be a little bit of a transition year. And defensively, this is a team that just cannot hang. It's not been, that's been an issue for them over the course of the last few seasons with Gasperini, even when they've been very good. But they're just such an open team, and you see it in a game like Fiorentina, where you play an opponent that can really exploit that. They've had a comfortable start to the season with some of the quality of opponents for Atalanta, and they got exposed a little bit in this game for what is, I think, a kind of an open back, and that could really be their downfall, because they also don't have depth defensively at all this year either. So some worries there for Atalanta early in the season. For Fiorentina, it's a good kind of find yourself again on the right side of Fiorentina. Have been involved in a lot of crazy games. 9 goals scored, 9 goals conceded so far this season. They've been one of the more involved. A fair number of goals, which I think for most people is enough for the excitement factor.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're a bad team, right? You're talking about a team that got to the Conference League final last year. You're talking about a team that has been on the up when it comes to, their form trending in Italy, and they're always due for an exciting game. I mean, you obviously have a soft spot for them, so you're obviously going to agree with that. But like, if you're looking for other games, if it doesn't seem like there's exciting games to watch, for a game week in Italy, always turn on a Fiorentina game. You'll probably see some things that are very interesting, and you'll probably find out about a couple players that you don't know about that can be put on your radar because they do have some quality on their team.
Yeah, I would say more than just some, but you know what? We tomato, tomato. We'll call that a call. One of just my favorite results from the weekend: Brighton 3, Manchester United 1. Just talk about put him in a coffin. Talk about put it in reverse, Terry. Every way you look at it, just love this one. I love Pascal Gross just absolutely skinning Lisandro Martinez alive. Just a beautiful little body feint from a geriatric German to put him on the floor. I mean, just honest. The Germans Argentina pipeline usually went the other way. That's all I'll say. And just
you want to talk about a geriatric player? Danny Welbeck scored in this game.
the ultimate revenge game. Truly.
Oh my God! Like,
it's the knife that waits longest to cut that turns and gets deepest the most. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable performance by Brighton. It's hard to figure out what's more fun to talk about in this game, like how good Brighton have been and how fun they are to watch. A concern for them early in the season, but they've been able to score and create so much that hasn't really mattered much. Going away to Old Trafford and getting this result, and Manchester United. Listen, in England, there's always a crisis team. There's always a team that's in a crisis, and it can be a rotating cast. Manchester United to start the season have been very bad, have gotten very bad results, have injury problems too. It should be said. They're missing some players due to injury. It's just another continuation of that, and just a terrible result for them. And it's so shocking. So because obviously Brighton had a good season last year. They've been an ascending team over the last few years in the Premier League, but this is still shocking to see them go away to Manchester United and get a result like this. I don't know what it is, and really we've talked about Manchester United being bad away from home. At home, they've generally had a good record. Like, this has not typically been where they've lost points. This has been one of the only places where they've had the good form with legs anymore to really be playing like pivot in the midfield. And Casemiro's definitely taken a step back this season. He had a strong year for Manchester United last year. That has not continued this year. And talk about Marcus Rashford not being at his best. Bruno Fernandes looks a little frustrated at times, and emphasis should be on a little. It should be a lot. And Onana's honestly quietly looked awful. And I'm not ringing alarm bells quite yet, but we're like 2 or 3 weeks away from me. Like, this guy might be like toast. I out of nowhere too. It's not like he's like an older player, but he's looked bad.
I know we're going to talk about their Champions League matchup later on in the show, but yeah.
We're not, because that result wasn't surprising. Nothing.
And he still looked bad. Yo, shout out to Brighton's social media's team. That post, you're Andre Onana's bottom corner. And all the goals are coming in on that side. It's just, oh man, I absolutely love seeing another team's social media take the piss when it comes to Manchester United. You want to talk about teams in crisis? Manchester United, we have 2 in the Premier League right now. Manchester United, and then we're going to talk about Chelsea in a couple minutes. I mean, you got 2, and then honestly, could you include Newcastle in there? But I wouldn't say as much of a crisis because they're not as big of a team. I mean, we understand and kind of expect the regression based off of last year's uber success and top 4 finish for them. But Newcastle are tied with United on points. So, I don't think that the alarm bells are ringing as much for them as it is for a team like Manchester United. We're not used to seeing Manchester United in the bottom half of the table. So, yeah, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. We haven't seen Manchester United in crisis like this since the David Moyes era, and the David Moyes era team would probably beat the shit out of this Manchester United team. So it's like this is wonderful for me as a neutral when it comes to the Prem, sort of. And this is absolutely wonderful for someone like you. I mean, you're just sitting back, feet up, cigar lit.
As Meek Mill would say, I used to pray for times like this. I mean, honestly, just watching him struggle in the mud, truly, it's just it's something like you've never seen. I would actually argue you haven't seen them this bad since, I don't know, the Mourinho days, or the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer days, or the Erik ten Hag days from last year. Like it's every year with that. Why are we pretending like they've?
With the Mourinho days, didn't they still win a trophy?
Sure, but the end of it was awful. It was like the most toxic situation I think I've ever seen in my life until the end of the Ole days, until the end of the Ten Hag days. Now, I was told that Erik ten Hag was a genius, and that he was gonna revolutionize. That in Liverpool, he said, "Well, their time has to come to an end, maybe, but your time is not next, brother. I'll tell you that much. I mean, it is just truly, it's unbelievable." I love watching it. I love watching them be terrible. I love watching them flounder. I love watching them blame it all on Mason Mount injuries, even though when Mason Mount was playing, every single Manchester United fan was saying that he was overrated and they should have never bought him. It's just fantastic. But shout out to Brighton for delivering just a nice slice of humble pie. I really love it. I really love every second. Chelsea draw 0-0 with Bournemouth in just one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life. I mean, truly, just a true waste of my Sunday morning was spent watching Chelsea Bournemouth. Like, I'm glad I at least did laundry during it and I was folding some clothes, so I felt like I didn't just completely waste my life and my time. But truly, Chelsea are the most gutless team I've ever watched in my life. Just wasteful, just like possession going nowhere. Watching the is being like that at the end, and it's like there's no point to it. I try and understand what I'm watching with Chelsea, and I don't understand. I don't understand what I'm supposed to be looking at. It's like looking at high modern art, where it's like I'm just not sure. To me, it's a red dot in a canvas, and I'm being told, well, actually, the expected numbers are very good. Listen, I don't care if the expected numbers are good. They should be good when you consider the teams that Chelsea played. They've played some of the worst teams in the Premier League. They've had one of the easiest starts to the season. Their XG should be good. And guess what? XG doesn't count for anything if you're not scoring the goddamn goals. And that was a problem for them last year, too. It's not like this is a new issue. They can't score. They were bringing on players that I literally have never heard of, and I don't know how that is possible. Because they've bought like 37 players in the last year, and they're still bringing on guys. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Like, I have to like Google people. I don't know who some of these people are. I don't. Rob, he's speaking of Brighton boys, but honestly, like, so I don't know where I'm supposed to go here. And I don't know where it goes for Chelsea here, because truly, they have like put themselves in this position, and they've obviously, we've talked about them locking a lot of money into these lineups, and they put them on these 8-9 year long contracts, but they won 8 games in the Premier League since last October. That's almost
crazy.
That's relegation form. Like, truly, like, I'm not even as a bit, like, that is like the type of performances that could see you genuinely be like, we joked about it at the end of last year that they might get pulled in the relegation. Genuinely though, like, if you continue playing like this, at what point does it turn around? I honestly don't know. And it's not even like one of these things. I think that a good performance against Liverpool on the first day, that was truly the last time I've watched them. I feel like, like, pretty good performance, and they played well against Liverpool, but I really not much. And there's no threat from them. I guess the only positive you can say is defensively, they've looked okay this year, but all things considered, man, I really think that they're not a very good team. I think they're just going to be kind of languishing in this mid-table area. I don't know what that means for Pochettino, but I guess the good news is there's a lot of really bad teams in the Premier League, and they don't have to worry too much about actually getting relegated. But yeah, Chelsea, just a terrible team right now.
Yeah. Do you see a managerial change happening soon? This is like what I'm seeing there. Like what we're seeing in Manchester United is like, all right, like Ten Hag is like walking a thin line. Do we like for Chelsea? It's a worse situation. They finished 11th, maybe 12th last year, and they're in a worse place now. Like I don't see it. Whoever the manager is lasting much longer. Pochettino, right? I don't think that's going to work for him. And this is pure scenes of a banter era that's going on. They're bringing these players, it's not working. They're switching the lineup. There's no continuity in the lineup because they're trying all these new players that we don't know about, we've never heard of. We can't even tell you, like you mentioned this, I can't even tell you where some of these guys have played before. Like these look like regenerated play. Like, when you play a FIFA career team or a career mode and you play long enough and, all the players, and start to retire and they just do the regens with all these like new, like youth players. And that's what it seems like at Chelsea. They're signing all these guys that like are just like user created guys. I don't know who they are. And they don't get results.
I'm going to read you some names. Ronnie Stutter. Do anything for you?
Created player.
Alex Matos.
Created player.
To Elfie Gilchrist.
Nah.
Lucas Bergstrom. They have two keepers familiar, on the bench.
But
Lucas Bergstrom is familiar to you. Maybe a hockey player. Maybe you're thinking of a hockey player. You've never heard of the Finnish goalkeeper Lucas Bergstrom.
Yeah, I've never
Chelsea.
heard of
You've
him.
never heard of that man.
Nope.
They have two keepers on the bench. They spent $1 billion. How are you this bad? This is a drill tweet. They spent $4,000 on candles. Like, someone please help these people out.
Yeah. They spent all their money at Dan Flash's.
I mean, Dan Flash's would have been a better use of their money. If you could tell me who Leslie Ugochukwu is, that was their start. He's starting in midfield for them in the double pivot. I had no clue who that is. I've never heard of that man. Sorry to this man, but I don't recognize him. I've never heard of him.
Yeah.
It's
there's gonna be some Chelsea fan listening somewhere in England saying like, "Oh, you silly Americans, you guys don't know the sport. You've never heard of these guys." No, you probably didn't either. And as soon as you got like the friggin' notification on your phone that Chelsea signed this person, you went and looked at like 3 highlight tapes and we're like, "Oh, he's the guy. He's
the next N'Golo Kante.
He's us. He's for us."
It's unbelievable, and
Jeez,
it's I gotta say it's great to watch on the sidelines. We'll stay in London. Spurs with late dramatics get a win over Sheffield United. Love this goal from Kulusevski to win it because I was like the celebrations when everyone just kind of starts running out and screaming. Like a lot of times, like with late winners, they'll all like crowd the person who scored, obviously, as you'd expect. But there's the occasion where it just kind of is so wild and no one really knows what to do with themselves, and we'll just start running and screaming, even if they had like nothing really to do with the play. And I really love to see that. And I kind of like where Spurs at. I don't know how been. Well, I'm not gonna burst anyone's bubble and say, to calm down, which I like. I like when the manager's like, yeah, whatever, like this is part of being a fan. But yeah, I don't know how to series to take Spurs, but they've had a really good start to the season, and I don't know, the vibes feel great. I'll tell you that. They're like probably the best vibes team in the Premier League at the moment, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to say, and I always say it at least once or twice a season, Spurs are going to Spurs, but right now, the way that they're playing, it's not the same type of team. I mean, having a lot of freedom to these other players, now that Harry Kane is gone, is kind of, helped them flourish. James Madison, like we've said, has been a huge addition to the team. If they keep up this type of form, I mean, they won 4 straight games in their last 5. So it's really, really good. It's a great start for them after drawing on the first game of the season. So, they have 13 goals. They've only allowed 5. They've been playing very strong on both ends of the field. So, all credit to them. It kind of makes me feel weird saying that, but, it's almost like for people like us, we're waiting for that, Spurs game. You know what I mean? We're waiting for that game where everything kind of falls apart. They lose to a team like Wolves or something, and the wheels start coming off. But I mean, they're not playing in Europe, correct?
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, that bodes really well for them. So, I mean, when all they have to do is focus on the league and they're playing like this, I mean, it's going to be very hard for them to lose that form. It's going to take a really bad showing from the players or like a specific injury to a specific player to really kill this momentum that they have going for them.
Perisic did tear his ACL. The ball. And coming on, kind of late in games, and has had a few good flashes so far this season, but he tore his ACL, so Perisic is probably done for the season, all things considered. Unlikely that he makes it back in time to even feature in late season in the May.
Yeah, but what do you think that does to his career? I mean,
tough to say. I think he can come back and play. He's not a player that relies on speed necessarily, but he's more like an endurance guy. He's got good technical skills, so I think he could still fight. He's probably going to go. I mean, he was already thinking about I know this summer there's a lot of rumors of him going back to Croatia to play. Probably means that is more in his future coming up. So kind of a bummer. I always like Perisic, a fun player for me to watch. I always appreciate the way he plays. I always love the guys that are 2-footed and can kind of cut you in a lot of different ways. So a little bit of a bummer, and it also sucks too because you have the Euros this summer. That to be a part of Croatia's squad. So that's also, I think, a tough thing to keep in mind when someone's getting long-term interest this year's big international tournament in the summer. It kind of sucks when you miss out on that. Champions League is back. No crazy. Normally the first day gives us something a little crazy. Nothing. We got nothing from the first 2 days. We did have a really fun Lazio goalkeeper header to get a draw against Atletico Madrid, which is always nice. PSG dispatched Dortmund. Milan Newcastle, kind of a boring draw if I'm being honest. There wasn't a whole lot within that game. Manchester City, surprise, take care of business. I don't want to hear Pep Guardiola complain about injuries ever again in my life. I'm tired of hearing about it. Bayern and Manchester United played what I can only describe as one of the most boring 4-3 games I've ever seen in my life. Just a total lack of quality in that game. Bayern have really cemented you play them and you're like, actually, this team is their midfield is a turnstile and they concede 2 or 3 goals every game. They're just not complete enough, I think, to be very serious Champions League contenders, at least this season, at least until they can get to January and maybe make some additions to the squad. Napoli get a big win over Braga. Braga, a sneaky good Europe team. It did take a late goal from Napoli, technically an own goal as well, to get there, and Inter draw with Real Sociedad. But again, nothing, no big surprises, no big upsets from our first kind of set of Champions League matches.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal did what they needed to do versus PSV. I mean, they kind of just tore it up. Some really good goals scored in that game as well. I don't know whose was better, Trossard or Odegaard's. I mean, Odegaard's looked like the one that he scored in the Premier League as well. So
classic Odegaard's goal, honestly, at this point.
It's incredible,
it's
man.
becoming a calling card for him.
The when it comes to that United game, you talk about just a lack of quality, and I do agree. The only quality thing that Manchester United had was that Bruno Fernandes free kick, which was decent. I'm not like you said about Bayern, I'm not totally convinced. I think that they lack quality in the goalkeeper position right now. With Neuer not getting the nod, is he hurt? I mean, I don't pay attention to the Bundesliga, so I don't know if it was like a rotation thing or they maybe underestimated Manchester United. But like,
well, Neuer very seriously broke his
oh,
leg
that's
last
right,
year.
he
If you
did.
can remember,
He did. That's
and
right.
Has
Yeah.
been recovering from that, and Neuer is definitely not seemed
Yes.
himself when he's been back, and they have it. They don't really have a great succession plan for him.
No, no, not at all.
So his he's still kind of in the sort of the gray zone, if you'll call it. Bayern were in for like some of the emergency. I think like Kepa was even emerged. Yeah.
Ah, there we go. Okay. I had no idea what you were talking about after you said Kepa. You kind of hit the lag switch on me again. But I do want to shout out their 18-year-old that came off the bench, Matthias Till. Scored a great goal. I mean, that ball from Kimmich, for him to settle it on his thigh and kind of just put that in. Really good goal. One thing, you talk about the lack of depth and quality in their midfield. What they do have is a shit ton of wingers. It's like what Bayern just have. It's like they started a game with Gnabry and Sané, and then they take off like Gnabry and they bring on Coman, and then they take off Sané and they bring on Till, and like they have just like a constant rotation of guys that just like can play on both the left and the right, and then you take off Kane, you bring on Mueller. Like it's like up front they still have that quality, and then it's like it kind of like falls to the wayside as you go farther back on the field. But yeah, I don't know. The Milan game, I mean, they had chances, they couldn't finish. I think based off of that game in Newcastle, against Newcastle, it's pretty apparent that Pulisic is the go-to guy on the right wing. There wasn't a lot from Chukwueze. He doesn't offer a lot going towards the touchline. He likes to cut onto his left, like Arjen Robben style, so it's kind of easier to defend. Musa came in and started looking really good for Milan. He played fairly well against Newcastle. When Pulisic came in, he kind of gave a little different play style than what was going on the whole game down the right side. So that was nice, but frustrating lack of goals from their end, because they really did control most of the game. But very just boring. The waste of my time on my free period at work. I did no work and watched the game instead, and regret it, because it was not ideal. But
that
yeah,
is the Champions League spirit right there. Is
yeah,
cutting
right.
away time from work to watch a game and be like, well, I don't know why I did that. I remember when Liverpool were back in the Champions League for the first time. I cut class one day to watch them play Real Madrid, and they were down 3-0 after like 40 minutes. I was like, this was really stupid and irresponsible of me to have done that, to be honest. I don't know why I did this. I don't know why I thought the result was going to be any better.
Isn't that great as a football fan? You just sit there and you're like, why did I decide to sit here? And like you mentioned about the Chelsea game, you like to watch all the Prem games. It gives you something to do on your weekend, and like, why did I waste like those 2.5, 3 hours watching this? Like, you had a better chance like turning on beIN Sports and watching a French league game, or watching like a Turkish league game or something like that. You probably would have been a little more entertained than watching that draw between bottom third table teams. So I think the match day 2 for the group stage is going to give us some tasty matchups, some more well fought matches. Shout out to Union Berlin. I think they held their own against Real Madrid for most of the game. Jude Bellingham scoring in the 94th minute.
Classic Jude Bellingham.
Jude, I mean, can we say like there may not be a better midfielder in the world right now compared to him based off of how he's
let's
been
not
playing?
get crazy because Dominic Szoboszlai does exist. So let's just get that for one moment. All right.
He has been on fire too for Liverpool. So
Bellingham is amazing,
But
and it makes me sick. It makes me so sick. I mean, just really makes me
Listen, he is something else, man. And for what it's worth, I know that we've talked about this in the past. Luka Modric is a fine wine, man. He just still is going.
He is an aged bourbon in a casket. You know, like he is just unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Stupid.
I mean, the thing that I'm a little concerned about for Real Madrid is the quality at striker. Joselu got the nod and he had his chances, and this game should have been like 4-0, 5-0 to Real Madrid, but like
they'll get Kylian Mbappe in January to be fine.
Hot take. I hate giving Bonucci flowers, but I mean,
you don't have to do this. You don't have to. Whatever you're about to do, you don't have to do.
I can't lie. He had a good game for them.
Yeah.
You know,
they lost, right?
They lost, but yeah. Listen. That was bound to happen for Real Madrid. So,
well, you never know. They are.
The script writers are in, man. It's Real Madrid in the UCL. It's gonna happen.
Inevitable in Europe. I don't know.
You think the script? You think the script writers are gonna let Real Madrid lose to Union Berlin in the
yes
UEFA Champions League?
That's kind of exactly what they would do. Because they love to count out Real Madrid at some point. Yes. Let's look ahead to the weekend. Some of the fixtures we do have. North London Derby this weekend. Arsenal versus Spurs. 9 a.m. on a Sunday. You got to love when the teams... there's always the edge to those games. But it's even better when they're like at the top of the table. And it's not often that you get them when they're like... This early in the season, everyone's in the title race. You know, like title race is like 6 teams. It's always going to come down to 2 teams. It's not going to be Arsenal and Spurs fighting for the title, just the 2 of them. But it's nice when it has a little extra juice to it. You also have Liverpool West Ham, another kind of a top 6 battle. Kel Antonio had some weird comments about Mo Salah on this weekend. I think I'm expecting maybe a Mo Salah brace. Maybe just potentially get embarrassed on Sunday. And personally, I'm kind of praying on it because Mikel Antonio and Callum Wilson have this like podcast thing where they like talk terribly about other players. It's like you're still
I saw that.
I would chill on that actually. I would chill on that.
I forget the clip I saw, but he was talking about some player and his issues mentally. You know, like I forget who it was, but like. Yeah, weren't you also dealing with it too? It's like the pot calling the kettle black or something. Like, I don't know if I use that saying correctly, but
I just also think maybe Antonio and Callum Wilson, 2 players that have Callum Wilson's been relegated and Mikel Antonio's been closer than you'd probably like to be, and like
he also crashed his own car into his house.
Well,
so, like...
who amongst us, Dom? Let's not. He who has not crashed his car into his own house can throw the first stone. Okay,
he pulled a Mario Balotelli. Come on now, man.
Well, I don't think he went full. That's like that great. Let's be real. It's not a great lineup for Italy games this weekend. I'm trying to sell it, but I mean, what you gonna tune in for Lazio versus Monza at 2:45 on a Saturday?
Yes.
Realistically, no. No, you're not. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to me, yourself, and the people.
Oh, you're right. I'll be at work, so it's
Exactly my point. Bologna versus Napoli. I could get into that. I could sink my teeth in. Yeah, but I mean, what you're gonna tune in 2 hours and 45 minutes later for Torino Roma? I don't think you are. So
no,
certainly not the juice that the Premier League is bringing us this weekend, but that's okay. We got Europe tomorrow, Europa League, Europa Conference League. So if you're involved in that, get involved, get excited. Always nice for a little Thursday refresher. Dom, anything to say before we get out of here?
Yeah. It was already checked off of your Top Bins bingo card today because I did mention FIFA earlier, but I'm planning on bringing Fut Boys back. I know I've been saying it, but now the new EA football game is coming out. Early access for the pre-order comes out on Friday, so I will be doing that. So the streams are back, and the podcast will be back. And yeah, I mean, I'm getting excited for that and getting geared up for it all. So make sure that you tune into that. Twitch.tv/SerieA. I'm back on promoting that. We back, baby. You know?
Yes, sir.
That's about it. Yeah.
Great. That's
Yeah,
amazing, dude.
awesome.
Well, I wish you good luck, you know, and don't get too irresponsible. And
Oh no, it's a it's going to be an RTG this year for sure. The title will be Road to Ramirez. With the listen, you played FIFA Ultimate Team back then. You know how good Ramirez was.
Goddamn Ultimate Team.
They,
Jesus Christ.
listen, they brought him back as a hero.
What? They what?
And we know how good Ramirez used to be in video games. So my goal is to get him in.
And
the
he was
team,
good because he
and-
was like low rated and cost like 700 coins.
and he played.
Now all you have to do is play the game for 68 hours and win 23 games in 10 hours to build a base set to combine for an SBC, to put that into fodder, to buy a pack, to get the chance to play a tournament game to win Ramirez. Right? Am I close?
Sort of close, yeah. Or you just pack Mbappe and then you sell them all. That's what
Well, that's
happened
worked
last
for
year.
you, hasn't it? That's
Yes. I packed Neymar day one and Mbappe a week later, and I had like 2 million coins to my name, like all of a sudden. So,
How's it feel to be a trust fund kid on Ultimate Team? Have you tried just having someone give you a lot of money? I mean, that's what I did.
Share my team on Twitter, like you could have this team, like your team's cool, but like it's not this.
It's easy. Just pack like 2 of the most expensive players in the game and sell them. It's like really
Like,
not hard.
you could just pack Mbappe, 3 times within a month. It's just whatever. Like,
Have you tried just not being poor? Like, we'll be back next week to break down this weekend's action and next week's Champions League action. Until then, be safe. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy your early access to EAFC football product game. Until then, we'll talk to you next time.